Welcome to the Austin Biz Buzz, the podcast that builds the buzz about Austin business. So kick up your feet and turn your brain on. It's time to talk Austin business right now. Here's Herdy.
Hey everybody, we want to welcome you to the Austin Biz Buzz. That's right, we build the buzz about Austin business. Your host, Herdy Burke, and I am with Randall Goltzman, and we are going to talk about mortgages here in a few minutes, and he's the guest on the podcast today. But before we get to Randall, I want to thank my sponsor, Mike O'Neill. He's a money coach. He's a professional speaker, a motivational speaker. He does lots of speaking around not only the United States, but the world. And you can find him on his website at mkoneal.com. And what Mike does, he's a good friend. And when he heard that I was going to relaunch the podcast for the Austin Biz Buzz, he jumped on. And he was kind enough that takes care of all the editing and all the back end stuff that I do. And that allows me to bring great people like Randall onto the podcast, representing local Austin business, and they don't have to pay a dime. We love to cover Austin business. Randall, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Hey, man. So have you ever been on a podcast before?
I was on one podcast, which was the Sandy Show.
Okay. So you've done a little bit of recording, but not a whole lot before, right?
Not a whole lot.
All right, cool. Well, hey, feel comfortable. We're glad to have you on. And Randall, before we get started asking you some questions about what's going on in the mortgage business right now today and some stuff to get people to know you a little bit, can you give us the best way for us to contact you if people get interested and want to talk about mortgage with you?
The best way to get in touch with me, they can call me at 512-632-7490, and they can also start the online application at pickrandall.com. That's PICKRANDALL.com.
Man, I love that. Pickrandall.com. That's got a nice ring to it, buddy. That's pretty cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, pick me.
Pick me. Hey, so we're going to jump in your questions. Just to let our listening audience know, we stay on about 30 minutes, and this gives us a chance to kind of buzz through some questions for you. So first of all, how did you get started in the mortgage business?
So I got started in the business about 16 years ago. I had actually been a recruiter for veterans that were, really for military that were exiting and being placed into the market. And I really enjoyed helping veterans and military out at that time, and just bumped into someone that said I was really good with people, and I have a really strong background with crunching numbers and doing that all day. So they said it was just a natural evolution of me going into the mortgage business.
Yeah, and so you've seen all these ups and downs in the market and everything. Can you tell us, and we're going to dive in a little bit what's going on exactly today, but can you tell us a little bit about how the process works in Texas? And I guess you represent people just in Texas, is that correct?
Yes, before the federal government really got heavily involved after the mortgage meltdown in 2007, I was able to actually close in 48 states, but now that we're federally regulated, I just do business all throughout the entire great state of Texas.
Can you tell us what's going on a little bit right now with this COVID-19 going on? It's been a little crazy, correct?
Yes, it's been really crazy with everybody just from one extreme to the other. There's not any kind of median. So typically when mortgage-backed securities get sold, the rates drop. Well, the Fed's been trying to manipulate different things, and the cost of the bonds are like next to nothing. So bonds are getting sold, and everything the Fed has historically done in the past does not work in this current uncertain environment. So we've seen a direct correlation where the Dow has had the worst historical days the last 2 weeks, and fell yesterday like 14%, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
And so everyone's kind of in this panic pandemic mode and it's translating into the economy and into the mortgage world. And so everyone's kind of freaking out. So today around noonish, the president was on, and they were talking about that the federal government is going to be buying $1 trillion of mortgage-backed securities over the next 2 weeks.
That's
Their big concern is that they do not want to offset where if they buy too much too quick, that it could make the Dow go down even lower.
Right.
And so since everyone is hypersensitive with the economy right now in local markets nationwide, that they have to tread very thinly with making sure that they buy the right amount each day.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though the Fed jumped the gun this past weekend and said they lowered their federal rate to almost 0%, that's not actually the real interest rate that's being translated to the consumer.
Gotcha.
And if it ever fell to a 0%, everybody would want to get a 0% interest rate. So
yeah,
really
absolutely.
So at our lowest point before the virus really impacted the United States, we were sitting at like a historical low on a 30-year fixed of like 275, 2875. And because of what's been going on with the Dow, it has driven that back up to almost 3.5, 3.625 on a 30-year fix. So if the Fed does it right and buys up the right amount and the delicate balance of the mortgage-backed securities, we should see the 30-year fixed come back into that range. It may not be tomorrow, it may not be on Friday, it could be next week. This crystal ball that I've used over the years just doesn't even work in this environment. It's very unpredictable. I was talking with a client the other day where we were talking about rates, and it increased by a quarter while we were on the phone for 10 minutes.
Yeah, so that would make you're crazy, because I would imagine that if 5 weeks ago, this was all, none of this was happening. So all of a sudden you've been working on some loan applications, right? So let's say 4 weeks ago, right? Or 3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just between now and then,
ago,
the rates jumped up. And so you probably got really nervous home buyers, right?
Yes. And we have a lot of nervous home buyers where they don't know what's going on in the market. And so since it's really, we don't know what's going to go on from day to day, and if the Dow's going to shut down, because if the Dow goes down by more than 7%, there's a trigger in place to cool off trading for 15 minutes. And then if it continues to go like that, then if there's a cooling off for 30 minutes, and then if it continues on that ugly path like it did the other day, then they close the market early and they're done to stop trading so it doesn't crash the market. And so that's why with the Fed buying these mortgage-backed securities, they want to find out where that sweet spot is to bring the rates back down and to help drive the Dow back up.
Right. So thank you for that explanation. And let's say it was somewhat normal. And it probably doesn't change your typical client, but who generally, Randall, do you like to work with? What types of mortgage loans do you generally work with?
Well, I do specialize in being a VA loan specialist. I love giving back to the veterans and getting them the best rate that's out there. There's no mortgage insurance. And typically VA has the lowest rates that are out there. And we have an initiative at Benchmark where even if they are below the minimum credit score, which is 580 for VA, that if they have a really good story and they were moved around from base to base to base, and there's a really good story, we've manually underwritten and approved VA loans as low as a credit score of 513 to get that family in the house, because we're about getting every military family into a home. And we have set aside $1 billion of our own money at Benchmark to get those families into a home.
So you guys really do like to focus on that VA loan and really help these veterans out. I think that's fantastic. What a nice story. So guys, if any of y'all veterans listen in, take advantage of this and get a hold of Randall, and we'll give you some more contact information in the podcast. So tell us about, who is the mobile home king, Randall? What does that mean? That's funny, dude. That's awesome.
So when I first got into business, I mean, you can't get away from it. You're living in Texas. There's mobile homes everywhere. Whether Dorothy's going to fly away to Kansas or not. And so
yeah.
They're the highest risk loans to do, because even if they're permanently attached to the ground, a good strong wind of 80 miles an hour or higher could rip that apart, tornadoes, so forth. But I got my footing in the business of closing a lot of mobile homes, where even my team and my processor was like, okay, are you going to do like a regular home? Because we've done, mobile homes for the past year or so. And to me, it's almost as rewarding to get someone that wants to get in a mobile home, because they want either acreage, they want to live out in the country, they just so many different things. And it's great to get people in a mobile home. So the rules and guidelines have changed over the years, and it's become difficult, but I always, whenever there's a change, I add that to my arsenal. And we still close stuff. We underwrite it locally. A lot of lenders out there will not do mobile homes. They're afraid of doing mobile homes, and they have to farm it out to somebody else. And those can take 60 or 90 days to close. And at Benchmark, we typically close mobile homes in 30 days or less.
Super. So that's why you're the mobile home king. That's awesome. That's pretty funny. That's pretty cool, dude. Hey, so
and I've had other realtors that are like, you need to call the mobile home king of Texas, and here's his number. I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so there's two different processes I want to talk about, and the first one is, can you run us through a pre-qualification process, what that involves?
Yeah, so really, it's coming up with a game plan of doing the online application, filling it out completely, and it takes like 3 to 5 minutes for the individual or the spouse to be added with them. And then once they have submitted the application, then typically we're going to pull credit, run through the underwriting system for approval, and then typically within an hour after someone applies for a loan, I'm sending the approval letter over to the realtor, which is basically putting money in a suitcase saying that they're approved for financing so they can put an offer on a house. And then during that time, then the buyers are uploading income documentation, pay stubs, W-2s. If they're W-2'd and that's all they are, then we don't need tax returns. If they have rental properties and some other funky streams of income, then typically we'll need tax returns. Copies of their IDs, bank statements, things like that. We verify employment and a couple other things. And if they have some blemishes on their credit report, we write some really good warm fuzzy letters to get over that and move on through the process. And then from getting pre-approved, then once we get under contract, then it goes to my setup team. They do all the behind the scenes paperwork. And Joey Townley is my setup person, which does a stellar job. He's a rock star and gets all that stuff done. And then once that's done, it gets pushed to processing, which is Lori, which she does an amazing job as well. And then from there, then it goes to my underwriter, which I used to work with like 16 years ago at First Magnus. And she's like the rock star of all rock star underwriters. And she's, Corolla works to save deals. She's not there to kill a deal. So she always thinks outside the box like I do to make a deal work. We get underwriting conditions back. We clear those items with the buyers, and then we submit for what we call a clear to close. Mm-hmm. And then once that's issued, then we're ready to schedule closing with the title company. And then we send off the closing disclosure, which has the final numbers of what they're bringing to closing. And then 3 days after that's been signed, then we go to closing, and it takes about 30, 45 minutes at a title company. And like Independence Title is one of my favorite title companies because they are consistent at every location, which you just can't get that from businesses today. And for them to have that high level of service is amazing. And then once they sign and the seller sign their paperwork, it takes a couple hours for us to fund it, which means everything they signed, we double check. And then we have issued funding approval, which means they're officially homeowners.
That's awesome. And so generally, what is the length of time from the time they qualify and they go through all the paperwork, get everything, all the I's and T's crossed, I's dotted, T's crossed? Generally, what is the turnaround time frame in a normal market?
In a normal market, from contract to close, we can get it done in 30 days. Also known for being that hero that if they went, for some crazy reason, they went to their credit union or some other bank that overpromised and underdelivered, that we've been able to close loans in 2 weeks.
Wow. So we're in a kind of a pickle mess right now, which we'll get through. I'm pretty sure of that. I want to thank you for going through that process with this. Tell us a little bit. I like to get in with personal side of my people I'm with on the podcast. Randall, can you tell us, you're involved with the Boy Scouts? Am I right about that?
Yes, I am. So, 10, 11 years ago, one of my friends was like, hey, all of Jake's friends are going to go check out what Cub Scouts is about. And so we went to go check it out. Jake was in kinder, going into kinder. And so we were there and they needed volunteers. And I kind of had my arms crossed of what is this all about. I was a Cub Scout, but I didn't do too much of it. And my parents were really not hands-on like I am. And so by the time I left, I was the den leader for my son's den, Cub Scout den. And then about 10 days later, the Cub Master quit. So I ended up becoming the Cub Master for the entire Cub Scout pack, and did that as well as being a den leader all the way until Jake crossed over to Boy Scouts, which was the second semester of 5th grade, and really helped grow and develop Pack 565 in Round Rock to where we were maybe at 30 Scouts. And by the time Jake was in like third or fourth grade, we grew the Cub Scout pack to 133 Scouts. And it kind of balanced out the following year to where we floated right around 90. But we did a really great job of providing a great program. And then there was a need for a Boy Scout troop in North Round Rock that there really wasn't anything nearby. And Jake and all of his friends that were in his den wanted to stay together and go to a troop that they could be together and have the same kind of quality leadership that they had in the Cub Scout pack. So I had all this free time on my hands, and I ended up starting Boy Scout Troop 565 out of Hopewell Middle School. And 6 years later, we started with the magical 6 Scouts to start the troop, and we're sitting right at about 41 Scouts. And about a year and a half ago, my son Jake earned Eagle Scout, and he earned it before he went into high school, which was perfect timing with his school load. And he's still involved with the troop, and he's a junior assistant scoutmaster and still helps out with campouts and comes to meetings. He went to National Jamboree in 2017. We went together to World Jamboree, which was the first time it was back in the United States since 1965 at Summit Bechtel in West Virginia. And so we got to spend time there. He was my senior patrol leader for the World Jamboree troop, and we are going back again in 2021 for National Jamboree.
Wow. So you've been involved with Boy Scouts for a long time, and you had mentioned that you do other volunteer work. Is that correct?
I do, but before I lead into that, so I was the Round Rock popcorn kernel with a K for the last 9 years. So I was responsible. So, and I get really poppin' excited about popcorn every fall. So it's what I'm very passionate about is giving back to the community. We set up over 100 locations in Round Rock where the Scouts are selling popcorn. It's the annual fundraiser, which is the largest fundraiser in our area that helps the Cub Scout packs grow financially, and that's the money that they're feeding off of. And our crews and troops feed off of that, as well as what they to go camping and the summer camp and all those great things. And then I recently became the council popcorn colonel, which I'm over the entire Austin market from Buda and Kyle all the way up to Georgetown. So, so instead of being responsible for $500 million of popcorn, now I'm going to be responsible for 500,000 versus now I'm going to be responsible for $2.3 million of popcorn.
And this popcorn is the good stuff, right? Like just about all the different kinds, or just single regular popcorn or caramel? What can I buy? I'm ready.
Yeah, it starts up in August, and we do popping corn. We do yellow and white cheddar popping corn. We're going to have blazing hot cheddar corn, plain caramel with nuts. We have a cheese lovers. That's a mix of 3 different kinds of cheddar popcorn.
Yum.
And we have sea salted caramel corn as well. And then we have microwavable, unbelievable butter and kettle corn.
That sounds fantastic. So I don't want to get too far ahead of you on this, but where do they end up going to buy this when you start this program? I'd like to know that.
So starting up this year, it will actually start in September 5th through October 11th. It'll be pretty much at almost every storefront in Round Rock. From one of our big sponsors is like Wagabag, Torchy's, La Margarita, CVS's, Walgreens, Walmart's, Lowe's, places like that.
Guys, buy your popcorn. I think that's great. All right, so tell me a little bit about Dad's Dance, Randall.
So my daughter has been dancing for the dance gallery for 11 years. And when she became old enough to apply for, to be on the dance troupe, then once she became that, then dads could volunteer if they wanted to do an all dads dance performance at the annual recital in June. And so this will be my 5th year to do that. And the first time ever in the history of volunteering, because I love volunteering, that I really thought I should have said no instead of yes. And then once I got through the first year, then I was like, okay, this is easy. I can do it. So I really enjoy doing that. My daughter loves when I'm doing that. And any chance I have a chance to embarrass her, because I wear like a T-shirt that looks like a 6-pack of abs that's ripped on the shirt, and she's like, "Do not wear that shirt," and I wear it every year. So
there you go. So you're a big family man, obviously, and
yes.
Is that you have the 2 children, or you have more kids?
Yeah. I have a daughter that she is finishing up 8th grade at Hopewell Middle School, and then Jake is a sophomore at Stony Point High School. He swims for Stony Point as well as Nitro swimming. Mm-hmm. So he's always had a very busy workload. And then I was also the top dog for Watchdogs at Terra Vista Elementary for 8 years, which is a dad's program to get the dads back into school and volunteer. And I've sat on PTA for 8 years. 3 of those I was PTA president. Wow. And I'm now the dad's chair for Round Rock ISD district. I was leadership Round Rock ISD in 2018, and I sat on the Citizen Bond Committee for the last 4 years to help get schools built and get things passed for the bond. So I'm really big on giving back to the community that I live in.
Obviously, and I love that about you. And for those of you who don't know Randall, I personally kind of sit across from a network group, meaning he's a great guy. Randall, we've been talking a little bit about mortgages tonight. Let's repeat your contact information if people want to get a hold of you. Can you give that to us?
Sure. My direct number is 512-6 888-327-4490 is my direct line. You can text. My email is Randall, Randall, at pickrandall.com. And my website to do the application is pickrandall.com, which is PICKRANDALL.com.
And if people are crazy and have a lot of questions right now, which I'm sure they do, you're happy to answer those and kind of take them through the process, right?
Correct. And I'm really good at hand-holding and guiding everyone through the process. And I've even had clients going, after we close on their house, they're like, you haven't called. I'm like, we're done with your loan. They're like, can I call just to chat? And I'm like, sure. I was like, because my big philosophy is, by the time we're done, we'll be like family. Because it's like having a physical on your mortgage. So,
in other words, you get to know them really, really, really well.
Exactly.
Hey guys, we've been talking to Randall Goltzman, and we're talking about mortgages, and even though it's a little crazy right now, it's going to settle down, and he can really help you through the mortgage process. He's a great guy, does a lot of volunteer work in his community. Randall, I want to thank you for being on. Did I miss anything? Is there anything you want to follow up with as we end our podcast?
No, I just think that with everything's going on in our uncertainty of what's going on, everyone just needs to try to remain calm. Don't overbuy stuff in the grocery store. I mean, there's people that have probably 20 years of toilet paper in their house, and just remain calm. We're all in this together, and let's treat each other nice when we see each other in the grocery stores and different things, and try not to take the last of something else for somebody else. So it's just stay calm.
Yeah, I had mentioned the other day, Randall, on a Facebook post that I'd trade my 5 cases of toilet paper and my 3 big gallon bottles of sanitizer for a 5-bedroom house, but I've had no takers, just so you know. Okay.
Yeah, it's probably getting close to doing that.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's okay. It's all right. Yeah. Well, listen, brother, I've enjoyed having you on the podcast. I want to thank you for taking valuable time out of a very busy time right now for you. Thank you so much. And we'll get this out, and I'll send you some links out, okay, as soon as I get everything edited. And, man, awesome. Thanks for being on, okay?
Thanks for having me.
All right, brother. Have a good evening. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.